Yo, what's up, guys? We're going to go through some plays, and we'll start out on Underdog Fantasy, okay? Underdog Fantasy, they have this promo on Travis Etienne to go over half of a yard, but it expires in 3 minutes, so got to move quickly on this one. So what we'll kind of do is, so you can see there's some big esports line discrepancies right now. There's actually a lot of good plays available. So this promo, it's only for a max of, how much is it? It's for a max of $10. So I probably don't want to use the best picks on it on Underdog Fantasy. You can only use a pick, or at least I can only use a pick once. So, what we have right here is I'll just lock in, kind of 2 plays from this odds jam optimizer, and then we can kind of like get going to the next play. So here's what I'm going to lock in, just 2 picks following the data. Only have 2 minutes left in this. So here's what we got going on. We got Travis Etienne, Jason Zucker, and Adrian Kempe. And again, the odds jam fantasy optimizer is a pretty simple tool. Essentially it's just going to scan all these lines, right? Out of these thousands and thousands of lines on Underdog Fantasy, most of these plays suck. Right? We're looking for those few plays where they're screwing up and we actually have an edge. And that's essentially what the fantasy optimizer is going to point out to you. But anyways, we still got another promo on Underdog Fantasy. There's some good lines on PrizePicks right now. So we got more work to do. So let's just load up, odds jam and go ahead and look for some of these plays on Underdog Fantasy. So where do we want to start? So we can go back to this fantasy optimizer. Let's take a quick look. So there's a lot of esports line discrepancies right now. But the thing is, if you go ahead and we pull up, the CSGO lines. So like this player, Cynic, again, OddsJam is just going to point out discrepancies. There's different strategies, that you can use to kind of make money. So CSGO. First player map kills. I think this is right. Maybe not. What league is this? CS2. I apologize. This is CS2. So we want to go over to CS2, and then we want to take a look at kills. So if you take a look right here, right, at this player, Cynic, it's like there's only 2 books posting lines on this player, Underdog and JockMKT. And obviously there's a pretty big discrepancy, but you only have 2 data points. It's not really clear like, oh, who's wrong? Like which book is screwing up. So if anything, what I'd want to do here, and you can see they already locked this line, but what I'd want to do is I'd want to middle bet that most likely, or we can look up the second player, Grizz, and it looks like they locked him too. But there's a 3 kill discrepancy. It's like if LeBron's points line was 30.5 on Underdog, 33.5 on JockMKT, hit the over on Underdog, over 30.5, hit the under 33.5 on JockMKT. If LeBron has 31, 32, or 33 points, we're going to win both bets. But again, it looks like JockMKT just pulled all of these lines anyway, so we're not even going to be able to bet them. It looks like there's only 1 remaining. Ben won 337, right? 26.5 versus 29. So when there's less data points in the market, these are plays I prefer to middle bet. And by middle bet, I mean like hit the over 26.5, hit the under 29. If he has 27 or 28, we win both plays. If he has 29, we'll push on JockMKT. We'll win on Underdog Fantasy. But anyways, let's look at some of these other plays we kind of got going on. So this play seems incredible. So I'm going to try to move quickly on this play. Is if we go to MLB hits allowed, so this is for the Phillies game, you're going to see our boy Brandon, right? His line is 4 on Underdog Fantasy, right? All the sports books, Fliff has his line at 3.5. with the under favored. Most of these other books have his line at 3.5. Some books have the under favored. Like you can see BetMGM has the under favored, right? So like we're using all these sports books where they're setting their lines, where they're setting their odds, kind of as a source of information. So what we want to go with is Brandon under 4 hits allowed. He's probably going to be on a short leash, right? It's the MLB playoffs. 4 seems like 3.5. It seems like a crazy low line, but hey, if that's where the value is, that's where the value is. And then we want to go to Andrew Heaney. So here we have another play. This one, we got 2 MLB games tonight. So this play you can see also on just this OddsJam positive EV tool. So again, Underdog strategy is pretty simple, right? This platform, Underdog Fantasy, right? They don't change your payout based on you selecting over versus under. They have fixed payouts. So what you want to do is you want to find spots, where sports books, either there's a line discrepancy, like here it's like Underdog has the line at 4. All the sports books have the line at 3.5. Some have the under pretty heavily favored. Like you can see lines are moving around. Lines are moving around in this market. This kind of shows you the line movements. But all the books have his line at 3.5. Some books have the over favored, some the under a bit favored. Or you want to find plays like this on Andrew Heaney, right? There's no line discrepancy. All the books have his line at 3.5, but you can see the sports books have his under heavily favored. So they're telling you, hey, he's more likely to go under as opposed to over, which is why this is a good pick, to possibly go with in your Underdog Fantasy entry. I mean, here's another one that seems halfway decent, but we're already going to have a play on Andrew Heaney that looks a little bit better. But you can see here, like Underdog has his outs line at 11. Again, it's a low outs line, but it's the playoffs. So Underdog has his line at 11. These sports books in general have his line, first of all, lower at 10.5, but they also have the under favored, right? They have the under favored or the under juiced. But anyways, we got 2 good plays. Now we can see okay, are there any TD lines or, we always want to look for 3 pick entries in general on Underdog Fantasy. All these chili peppers suck. I've looked through them previously, but Underdog Fantasy, right? They give you a 6x payout for these 3 pick entries. Any 3 picks you select, NHL, CSGO, whatever, you're going to get a 6x payout. Damn, PrizePicks bumped all my crap. Whereas on PrizePicks, they only give you a 5x payout. So it does kind of matter when you're playing on Underdog versus PrizePicks, just like, how many picks you go with. But anyways, we need a final play that we can kind of pair in this entry. I could use the promo play. But again, with the promo, you're only getting a max bet size of $10. So usually it's okay, can I get anything a little bit better? And sometimes we can't, but, maybe we dip a little lower and we go with a Thursday night football play and we take Kamara. So we're going to have to refresh this. Under 14.5 rushing attempts. They should have his rushing attempts lined up. Shit. And you can see they already removed the previous play, so never mind. Right? So maybe we just take this in the promo play. Underdog's moving things quickly. Although it does seem like there's a little bit of value on Alvin Kamara under 14.5, rushing attempts. Like if you go here and you look at PrizePicks, they have his line at 14 rushing attempts. FanDuel, we can kind of look at all the data points in the market, which is exactly what OddsJam's doing, right? It's just reading in where all these books have their line set. So Alvin Kamara, FanDuel has the line at 13.5. All the sports books, some have his line at 14.5, but they have the under heavily favored. So it's okay, that seems like, a pretty good play to go with. And then we can just throw in this promo play. So we have Castellanos over 1.5 hits plus runs plus RBIs. So with this promo, Underdog is boosting the payout to 8x. So the first thing we want to do is we just want to figure out okay, is this guy more likely to go over or under, right? You can take his over or you can take his under. So you want to figure out okay, what's the better pick, right? So if you take a look, all the sports books, I obviously follow a very data-driven approach. If you're a Phillies fan, don't take offense. But all the sports books, right, they all have them favored to go under 1.5. That's the more likely outcome. So obviously, if it's the more likely outcome and I'm getting the same payout, if I take him to go over or under, I'd rather take the under. What's the problem? Man, they're not letting me play both unders. They're not letting me play the promo play because I already have this play on Brandon. So that's annoying. So what I'm going to have to do is, ideally I can find one more pick on Underdog Fantasy really quickly. Oh, we can go with this play on Andrew Heaney under 11 outs. So obviously 11, a very low outs line, but, things are crazy in the MLB playoffs. These pitchers are on very short leashes. And again, that's why you want to look at sportsbook odds, right? Everything is baked into the market. The fact that it's the playoffs, right? That's baked into the market. So if we look at our boy Heaney, you can see, you can kind of follow it along here. He went 0 outs against Texas, then 4, and then 7. Or in his past 3 games, he's went 0, 4, and 7. So anyways, seems like a good play to go with. And then we have a nice little 3-pick entry, right? We found 3 plays with an edge, and we'll lock them in. This play on Brandon is definitely the best, right? Like, again, it's pretty clear cut. So if you want to learn kind of the math behind Underdog Fantasy, I have some YouTube videos kind of about it, but essentially, right, Underdog, we're always getting a 6x payout for these 3-pick entries, right? So if we go here to hits allowed and we look at Brandon, it's like Underdog ParlayPlay have his line at 4. Fliff, first of all, they have his line lower at 3.5 with the under favored. All these other books have the line at 3.5. Some have the over slightly favored. Some sports books like Betway have the under slightly favored. Sports Interaction, like even if a sports book isn't in your location, like Sports Interaction is a Canadian sports book, but still, all these books are taking bets, moving around lines based on where action's coming in. They're a data point, right? More data, more information, more power means you're going to make better bets. But anyways, Underdog Fantasy, right? Like the way this platform works, because they have fixed payouts in general, like obviously this is a promo play. Promos are great. But what was I going to say is, because they always give you the same payout, 6x for a 3-pick entry. If there's no promo, you're always getting a 6x payout, right? 6x payout, whatever we select. It all boils down to what percentage of your picks can you win. And essentially, like their business model is on Underdog, you have to win 55% of your picks to be profitable, right? To make money on Underdog, you got to win 55% of your picks. And that's not like easy to do. A lot of people are like, oh, that's easy. It's like you got to win 55, only losing 45% of your picks, right? That's a 10% gap. You got to win 55, only lose 45 to be profitable. Just if you go through the math behind Underdog. So like if you can win 60% of your picks, again, they don't change your payout based on the picks you select. So everything, your profitability, it all just boils down to what percentage of your picks, can you win? And you can see, like on Underdog, if you can win your pick 60% of the time, your ROI is going to be 30%. So we're just looking, we're like using data, market information to kind of like find plays on Underdog that are winning above 55% of the time. Like Andrew Heaney, all the sports books have him heavily favored to go under 3.5 hits allowed. And of course, I missed this play, but that's why this pick is winning above 55% of the time and is good to go in an Underdog entry. And again, like lines are always moving around with new information in the market, right? Like lineups come out, weather changes, sharp action. Like it's not always clear, like why did this bet show up now? So this is in the Texas Rangers game, right? So like why did Andrew Heaney, why did his line rip lower, right? He went from being, minus 110 only to go under to now he's a minus 155 favorite. So he's a much bigger favorite, much more likely to go under. And it's like we don't always have an exact answer. Sometimes it's lineups, so if you take a look here, maybe like when the Astros starting lineup came out, some of these players are less likely to get a hit. They're more power hitters. I don't know. But again, or maybe the coach said we're going to keep him on a short leash and have the bullpen ready early. Like there's tons of reasons the market can move, just like the price of a stock, right? If they have a great earnings report, they make a lot of money, the stock price goes up. New information is reflected in the market. All the books, Pinnacle is known to be the sharpest bookmaker. They have him all the way down at a minus 154 favorite to go under. So all these books have his under heavily favored. But anyways, let's move on. So what we can do is we can lock in a promo play, right? So here we have Nick Castellanos, right? And you can see there's some good bets popping up. But here we have Nick Castellanos, a promo on Nick Castellanos. We want to take his under. They're going to give us a boosted payout. So what we can do is, we just kind of want to find another pick that we can possibly pair with it. So we can kind of pick. And we have different options. Again, with this promo, anything above 50% is going to be profitable. So you can basically take anything on the board. Usually, again, on Underdog, for 3 pick entries at least, you have to win 55% of your picks to be profitable. For 5 pick insured entries, it's a little lower, 54.7. But it's easier, right, to find 3 good picks as opposed to 4. These sportsbooks don't screw up often. Out of these tens of thousands of lines on Underdog, they're pretty good at keeping their lines in check. So we're kind of trying to zone in on, those few spots where they're actually screwing up. So what we can do is we can just find something to go with. So like here, it's like, okay, like Will Pauling and Justin Javon Hargrave to go under half of a sack. I mean, we now have sack props on Underdog Fantasy. So we want to take him under 3.5 receptions. You can see Barstool has the under pretty heavily favored. And then we have Javon Hargrave under half of a sack. It looks like the most random slip of all time. But again, there's a little bit of value on both these plays. Sportsbooks have their unders favored. So, I always follow a very data-driven approach, but it's pretty simple. All the books have the under favored. We want to take the under. So we can go ahead and we can lock that in. And what we can do next is we can kind of go here to, I'm sure there's some plays on PrizePicks and other sports books as well. Anything for the Phillies game. So you can see there's some good plays available. But anyways, I just wanted to do a quick live stream. We locked in a couple good plays for the ETN promo, and then we have this 3-pick entry, and then we have this entry. I'm sure there's some more good bets on Fliff as well. I mean, there are good bets popping up on Fliff. So I'll do another live stream here in a bit, kind of going through some more plays. Thanks so much for your time.